A number of years ago, a church asked me to do a special seminar on money, giving, and how ways they could find to give more money to the building program. I thought I did an outstanding job of showing some of the things that we treat as needs when in fact they're really wants. Things like satellite television, cell phones, some of the eating out that we do, the latest designer clothes instead of just non-name brand generic brands, and so on. But one of the points that I wanted to make was very much in line with Jesus' teaching in this next section of AD 30, the widow's mite. It's event 11 on Tuesday, Wednesday in Jerusalem. Jesus is getting closer and closer to the cross, and it says he sat down opposite the treasury, observing how the multitude were putting in their offerings. And it says many rich were putting in large sums. I think that's important to notice that God doesn't have anything against people having a lot of money. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for a lot of wealthy people giving large sums of money to the church and to other Christian causes, we wouldn't be able to operate those causes. Then it says, a poor widow came and put in 2 small copper coins, which amounted to a cent. Now, let me stop there for a minute, because I think sometimes when we read that, we think that, well, we wouldn't even bend over for a penny on the road. And we get a misconception of what this 1 cent copper coin, or 2 coins equaling 1 cent, really meant. And so I went through and did a little research and found out that those 2 copper coins in today's currency, or the buying power, if you will, that she would have had with those 2 coins, is about equivalent to $1.50, or some have said as much as $2. So regardless of whether you take $1.50 or $2, you recognize that it was not a penny. It was not something that didn't really matter, because she couldn't do anything with it anyway. Back in those days, she could have probably bought several meals for her $1.50 to $2. So she was giving away something that was useful to her. Maybe even in today's society, when somebody puts $1 in the collection plate, or a $5 bill in the collection plate, or even a $10 bill in the collection plate, it's not significant as compared to the earnings that we have today. But anyway, this putting in these 2 small copper coins became a teaching moment for Jesus. And he called his disciples over and he said, truly, this poor widow has put in more than all of the contributors to the treasury. Now, remember, he had already said that some rich people had put in large sums of money. What was he talking about? That she had put in more than all of them put together? Well, because he goes on and says, for they put in from their surplus, but she gave out of her poverty and put in all that she owned, all that she had to live on, it says. Well, now there's 3 things that I want you to see first in this story. The first thing that I want you to see is I want you to see that he knows who you are. It says a certain poor widow. He knows you're a poor widow. He knows you're single. He knows you're married. He knows the constraints you have on your life. He knows who you are. The second thing that I want you to see is he says, poor widow. And he also went on to say that it was a significant sacrifice for her. He knows who you are, but he also knows what you have. So he not only knows who you are and what you have, but then it says she put in all that she had, everything that she had to live on. He knows your sacrifice. That ought to be significant to you. He knows how much of a sacrifice you make when you put in your offering. But I do want to show you a simple chart I recreated. I professionally did this, I think, for the church that I was doing the seminar for, but I've recreated that chart, and I'm going to put it up on the screen now. And as you look at it, I'm going to explain it from left to right. So up on your screen right now is a chart about giving and about income. And I want you to watch with me as we go from left to right. On the left, it says 1 inch equals $10,000. So to scale, you can see that we're not comparing apples and oranges, but we're using a scale. The first column represents a single person making $75,000 a year before taxes. You'll notice that there's a black bar which represents what a tithe would be, $7,500. And then you also notice a hatch marked area which represents $12,500. That is the basic need money according to today's Bureau of Census poverty level. So poverty level today for a single person is $12,500. And so you can see that not only can they meet their tithe, but they can also meet everything that they need to be in the poverty level. That leaves what I call want money. That is, it's free to spend. Well, some of you have already jumped ahead of me and said that certainly represents before taxes, and yes, it does. So I took 20% off, and that brings it down to $44,000. So the want money is $44,000. We're free to spend that any way we want to. Better housing, better food, better cars, better schooling, whatever it is. We have $44,000 that we're free to spend any way we want to after we've met our tithe and after we've met our basic needs. Now you'll see in the center the actual logos for this. The want money is the clear box, the hatched box is the need money, and the black bar is a tithe. So now let's take somebody that's at a single person at the poverty level making $12,500 a year. That person has all need money. That is, they need every dime in order to meet just the poverty level. So when you take the tithe off, you're taking it off of their need money. Let me say that again for you. When they give their tithe, which is represented here as $1,250, they're taking it out of what they need to live on. That's quite a sacrifice. Notice there is no want money in this. Now, who's making the bigger sacrifice? The person that takes a very small portion of their total income and gives it as a tithe, or the person that has to take their tithe out of their need money. You see, it's much easier for you to tithe when you make a good salary. You say, well, but it's 10%. I give proportionately more. Yeah, but you give it out of your surplus. And that's exactly the point Jesus was making here. He said all of these others gave out of their surplus, but she gave out of her need money. Does this illustration that I have for you with this chart help you to understand why Jesus was so impressed? It was the same 10%, but it was a much greater sacrifice. And it says that she gave all that she had to live on. Now, as a widow, she didn't have a way of making a great income. And so she gave away even what she had to live on, because she loved the Lord and because she wanted to be obedient to give. Let me stop and ask you for a second. What about you? What about you? How much of your need money are you giving to the church? Your offering is the 10%. But are you making more than an offering, a tithe? Are you giving out of your surplus? It's good if you are, and I hope you are. I pray you are. But doesn't it give you a better perspective of that little widow lady that's sitting alongside of you? That widower that's sitting alongside of you? That person that never had a high-paying job and has to live on Social Security and whatever else they can scrape together? Yes, it's not equal giving when we tithe. It really isn't. It may be proportionately equal, but it's certainly not equal in sacrifice. And that's my thought for the day. I hope that you'll appreciate those that can only give a little, a lot more than you do now.